And we're back with another episode of the State of Pro Wrestling. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and of course, the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you watching and listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, please also check out the PVD Cast at thepvdcast.com, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, go ahead and check out everything that we talk about in the state of pro wrestling each and every time out. Any major news comes across in the world of pro wrestling, go ahead and check it out on Facebook at Pop Culture Cosmos, indeed. But I'll tell you what, looking forward to a great conversation today, even though it's kind of slow. He's back once again with our Hall of Fame picks as well later on in the show that we've got, because we've got a couple things to say about that. Good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today and each and every week at the PVD Cast at thepvdcast.com. It is John Orlando, and John, coming off the turkey dinner and all that, nothing going on in the world of pro wrestling at all.
Why are we even doing this? There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing at all that happened. It was a very, very slow week in the world of wrestling.
Exactly. Nothing at all happened. No, we just kidding. It's like the shot heard around the world again as CM Punk has debuted, or actually reemerged or returned to the place he called in his promo on Raw home. And that would be him returning to the WWE. Hell has officially, frozen over, because CM Punk is back in the WWE. I'm going to start with your thoughts, my friend. Please let me know your thoughts. Did you think it would be a possibility? In this business, you and I, so long now, have seen this business. Nothing is impossible. No bridges can be fully burnt, no matter how many times people sue each other or sue their company or talk bad about the company, blah, 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 blah. If it means money can be made, it's going to happen. And it happened indeed with CM Punk.
Well, I have to give a big thumbs up to the WWE and their production, because I almost turned the TV off because we got the end of Survivor Series. The babyfaces are victorious. They're celebrating. We get the little copyright logo in the bottom corner. And I was just ready, Gerald, to almost press the off button on the Peacock. And then all of a sudden, I heard those first few strums of Cult of Personality, and I said, never mind. I got to watch this. And man, what a way to kind of, for lack of a better term, work the at-home audience, work the audience in Chicago. Man, bravo. I want more of that in pro wrestling. That's what I want. I want more of that. The unexplainable, the unpredictable nature of it. That's what I want. And this was a prime example of it. Great way to spring the surprise.
Absolutely. I enjoyed the way they did it at the very last minute, because you didn't think it was going to happen. A lot of people had said it wasn't going to happen. All these insiders said it was not going to happen. He lives in Chicago, so he was seen around Chicago in the days leading up to it. That's not anything at all. I mean, because he, also as well, AEW had recently been back just a few days prior in Chicago as well. But it just seems like this is going to be a mistake. I will say this: when it comes to CM Punk and WWE, they very well may burn their bridge against with each other. They may have another falling out. It may be another issue. There's heavy odds in favor of that. The rest of the locker room may not be able to stand having CM Punk in there. But if he is there in 2 years, main eventing any type of event, whether it's a Raw, SmackDown, or a pay-per-view event, or PLE, whatever they call it now these days, that's a big win for the WWE. They have won, and AEW have lost in that count. I'm just going to say it right now.
Right now you got to be reeling if you're AEW. And look, I know people say, well, they just signed Will Ospreay. And look, I like Will Ospreay, Gerald. I do. I think he's a very talented wrestler. But when you come down to the bottom line of name value, You line up 10 people, I'm sure 6 out of those 10 people, maybe 7 out of those 10 people will go, "Oh yeah, CM Punk, he's a wrestler." Those same people, you say Will Ospreay, huh? Who? And that's not a knock. That's not a knock on Ospreay. I'll
But
say
he's not known to the
right.
general wrestling audience.
And the whole time that we've been doing these podcasts, Gerald, the thing that we have been saying is you have to rope in the casual fans, and that's what AEW is so badly disjointed, or they're just so inept at doing. This is a huge step towards maybe the downfall of AEW. I'm not going to say for certain, but
Yeah,
it's got to sting some. It's got to hurt some. It's got to have a negative impact on their bottom line somehow, some way. Because you
agreed.
let the biggest star that you could have built so much around, you let him go. I'm not saying that he was an angel. I think we both have agreed.
No, but if you really, we don't know all the circumstances. And taking a swipe at Tony Khan, if that is, has been alleged, it is true, then obviously that's something that they needed to consider. But the fact is that it got to that point in the first place over workplace safety, which I believe is the issue in regards to glass, fake glass, real glass, using it as far as in matches, using one or the other in real matches. If CM Punk was adamantly against using real glass for safety reasons, then obviously he had a. This is something that, again, just like the previous issue with CM Punk and what happened, back in London, just back before, as far as the brawl that ended all, behind the scenes, last time around. It just seems like these are issues that could have been prevented. Yes, he might be hothead, he might be very adamant, but if he is who you think he should be as far as a drawing card for you, and as we've seen from the ratings on the Saturday night show Collision, obviously it's been affected by his loss. You're right. This could be, I don't want to say it's a death knell either for AEW, because I don't think it is, but this is really something that hurt AEW and All Elite Wrestling. And in hindsight, they may look back upon it as a major mistake on their part.
Well, let's maybe take a look at this from a different angle, if you will. It's
Mhm.
and I meant that as a little bit of a pun. What angles do you think they're going to, and they being the WWE, are going to put Punk in? I,
Well, that's
I,
a great question, because they've already talked about. Okay, if you look at all the scribes that are out there, I don't want to call them the dirt sheets or anything like that, because I've read dirt sheets newsletters and follow reporters, and so they're right more often than the wrestling industry wants to admit,
Mhm.
but they've been wrong on occasion too, as the CM Punk news, as far as none of them had a clue that CM Punk was actually going to step out on that arena stage on at Survivor Series on Saturday night. So I will say this, though. We hear rumors and innuendo and storylines being written by all of them, as far as, feuds lined up with Seth Rollins, feuds lined up with Roman Reigns, feuds lined up possibly even with the returning Stone Cold Steve Austin, which was mentioned by Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer that I noted earlier today on FW4online.com. So let's just say they are true or not true, or any somewhere in the middle. Just the fact that you can bring someone in and viably talk about them already in that slot is always a major win. Yes, does it hurt the progress for LA Knight? Does it hurt the progress for Cody Rhodes? Does it thwart their plans, or might change or alter their plans? It may do so. But if you're an organization and you can bring in someone who is recognizable, has an audience that bumps up your ratings, and if used properly, can be used in good matches that can actually draw and get people's interests, well, there you go. Why don't you do it? They did it. Triple H, despite the bad words and bad blood that they said to each other, you know what? He said, money, again, is paramount in this business. And if you can draw, you'll always get a second opportunity.
Well, and let's be honest too. I think it was kind of hinted a little bit on Monday Night Raw when Punk did his promo that it's been 10 years. They're different people now. Triple H 10 years ago was not the executive. He was not fully in control like he is now. He is now. He has a different way in which he wants to run this business than Vince McMahon did. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, that's another episode of this podcast that we could talk about that then. But the bottom line is, I think that Triple H realizes it's not just a catchy catchphrase. What's best for business? And Punk is best for business, whether he was on AEW or where he's at now with WWE. Now, I will say this. I feel like, to me, the most intriguing feud would be Seth Rollins and CM Punk. I don't know if you feel that way or not.
Oh, that's the one they're going to start off with, because you already saw when he made that appearance, they clearly made an effort for social media to go ahead and spread as you saw, Seth Rollins giving him the one finger salute. And I'll let you just go ahead and let your mind wander. He wasn't calling him number one. Let's just put it that way. And already there's been comments on social media, and he's already gone off on house shows up in deference to CM Punk. Kevin Owens has talked about CM Punk. There's so many individuals that have already been asked about. He is already a conversation starter. No matter what you say about CM Punk, love him or hate him, he is always a conversation starter. He keeps people's interest. He trends worldwide, which is just exactly the way the WWE wants it.
Mm-hmm. I will ask this because, again, it was mentioned in the promo on Monday night. Gerald, do you think his wife joins him in the WWE?
Well, he did note on his promo that she's doing just fine. My guess is maybe makes an appearance at some point. Whether or not she returns to active wrestling, I would say that's kind of iffy, because you have to be really out there and really good to perform at a high level for the WWE. I mean, those ladies in the WWE, I know you and I have gone back and forth on this, but I think that even to this day, I thought it was a little bit better heading into 2019, 2020, 2021. But still, even today, I think the WWE's women's wrestling is probably still at a point where you have so many individuals that can headline for you. Like right now, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky are champions. But what if you put the belt on Becky Lynch? Or what if you put the belt on, let's say, Charlotte Flair or Asuka, or, any one, a number of individuals that they have there? It's believable. You have individuals there that are really top notch. And I think putting AJ Lee into that mix, unless she's ready for it, would be hard to do. It's just so hard to come back. Trish Stratus did it. And Trish Stratus performed at a high level in the comeback, especially with Becky Lynch. So it can be done. I can't say it's impossible, but it's just so hard. But maybe that's not what she wants to do anymore. So I don't know. It's just, again, it's something that we may see an appearance from her, because she was mentioned in that promo. So maybe just because the fact that she was mentioned by CM Punk maybe means that AJ Lee will be seen down the line, even though the WWE wasn't maybe planning on that to happen.
I was just gonna say maybe it's good old Punk playing puppet
Yeah,
master. I'm gonna
could
mention
be.
my wife's name. That'll get a buzz. That'll get things going.
Mm-hmm.
He's very good at that. Let's just be very honest. So the question is, I guess, are you happy that he's back?
I don't mind at all.
Okay.
Again, for me, I just thought it was absolutely stupid for All Elite Wrestling to get rid of in the first place. If I'm owning the company and he did take a swipe with me, maybe I'd have to think about it. But you also have to figure out, okay, between that and the Young Bucks fight, what got it into trouble in the first place? As
Mm-hmm.
we talked about this before, they should have gotten them all into the room, because this is billions. This is business. This is millions of dollars we're talking about. When you let a guy like CM Punk walk, that's millions of dollars in revenue that you're saying bye to. That's tens, sometimes hundreds of, like we saw in the ratings that came out for Monday's show on Monday's Raw. That's hundreds of thousands of viewers in certain cases, but over the course of an average year with CM Punk, let's say about 100,000, low 100,000 viewer bump up for you on that. Let's just give it a take, whatnot. And then you got the fact that he sells merchandise. That's millions of dollars in merchandise that you're losing out on. So when you make these decisions, You have to have something that makes up for it. And the AEW does not have some. We'll talk about AEW here in a second, but All Elite Wrestling doesn't have something to make up for it. So if I'm the competitor, if I'm the WWE and I can afford to bring him on, yes, do I know it's going to be stunting the growth of a development of another wrestler or even a top line wrestler or another wrestler or two? There's a great possibility that he bumps the line for someone else that maybe deserves a little bit more in the WWE. But business is business, my friend. And if he's going to draw and if he's going to play nice with virtually everyone there, then you got to go ahead and do it. Just even by the fact that you get him away from your major competitor in All Elite Wrestling.
And I think that, if they're smart about things, we're not going to see. I don't want to say that Punk's going to go on the Lesnar schedule, but he's probably not going to be wrestling every single week on Raw or SmackDown. So you're going to use him sparingly in the ring. I think you continue to use him almost every single show outside of the ring. He can do interviews. He could do another promo in the ring. He could do things like that would still keep people are still going to be interested no matter what he does.
Yeah.
Whether he's on commentary, whether he is doing promos in the arena, no matter what it is, he still can do that.
Well, again, I mean, just look at the fact that his appearance, the one you talked about, over 2 million YouTube views, was trending worldwide. He was actually trending either in the top or in the top 3 on Twitter, Google, and whichever type of social media. WWE lives for that social media buzz, which he can create.
Yeah, and he can also create other avenues because I feel like Punk he's an intelligent guy. Look, you can say all the things that you want about him, good and bad, but he's an intelligent dude. You got to give him that. He could be somebody that we talked about before that could be, at movie premieres or on talk shows or doing radio spots because he's articulate, he's intelligent. He's got the buzz behind him. I mean, think about, I could definitely see one morning turning on, Ryan and Kathy Lee or Kathy Lee, Ryan and Kelly. I'm sorry, showing my age some there, Gerald. Yeah, I definitely could see a morning talk show having CM Punk on it. And again, there's that avenue to help to bring in more casual fans. I've heard of this guy. This guy says anything. He's unpredictable. I'm going to watch he's got a unique look. He's got full sleeves and et cetera, et cetera. There's another avenue, another positive that he brings to the company is that he could be that crossover sensation.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something that, you don't give that up so easily on AEW. And that's why I will continue to shake my head, John, every time that we see CM Punk main eventing something in the WWE going forward. Again, I will say it's a win-win for the WWE if 2 years from now, because I'm not sure. I would, CM Punk, he could say something or do something that could get him out of the WWE, and he'll burn that bridge finally sometime down the line. But if in 2 years he's headlining a WrestleMania or a Survivor Series or a Royal Rumble or whatnot, and if they do the Seth Rollins feud, or they do a Roman Reigns feud, if they even do a Steve Austin feud with him, then I'll tell you what, my friend, WWE is laughing all the way to the bank.
You said it all. You said it all right there.
So was it a good move in your opinion as well?
Oh, I think it's a no-brainer. It's an absolutely no-brainer from everything we've talked about, from crossover appeal to putting the screws to AEW to making millions of dollars off of that merchandise. It's a win-win-win. I think, too, I'm going to be an optimist. I think that, as he said, it's 10 years. We're all different people than we were 10 years ago. Heck, some of us are different people than we were 10 days ago. So I think maybe...
Give me 10 seconds, I'll be a different person.
But you get what I'm saying. I think that Punk maybe has, I hate to use the phrase learned his lesson, but maybe he learned his lesson that sometimes you have to play nice with people you don't like. And I think that's that right there. And let's be honest, it's not going to be tolerated in the WWE. If someone does have a disagreement with Punk, there's not going to be a situation that gets escalated to the point where punches are thrown. That's not going to happen in the WWE. No way, no shape, no form. So if there's going to be conflict, guaranteed Triple H is going to say, you in this office now. We're hammering this out. So I think hands down, absolutely no brainer.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, if you can, please go ahead and share your thoughts with us. Are you really encouraged by CM Punk being back in the WWE, or are you really against it? Are you an AEW fan, really hurt by it? Do you think this is going to cripple or kill the AEW? Let us know if All Elite Wrestling is in trouble and if WWE is smiling with like a Cheshire cat grin. Let us know. Popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. As far as that's concerned. And for you, cool bro, just to let you know, yeah, Lakers Fast Break at yahoo.com. That's the email I have every day that I get for all the viewers and listeners. So I'll see what I can do, cool bro. We'll try to work on it, my friend. We'll get it done. We'll get it done. He wants to know, by the way, for your favorite Star Wars content as far as it's concerned, John, before you head out.
Me?
Yes.
Um,
He's a huge Star Wars nut, and I always get Star Wars questions whether I'm on the Lakers Fast Break or Pop Culture Cosmos, and I appreciate him watching. So huge Star Wars.
I'm old school. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite.
Yeah. He's into the prequels, just to give you an idea. So
okay.
Yeah.
All
right. Yes. I've already told him I have something to say on the prequels, indeed. So, but I will say this though, it is the state of pro wrestling. It is John Orlando from the PVD Cast. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing today at the PVDcast.com. Plus me, Gerald Glassford from the Pop Culture Cosmos. Truly appreciate you listening. But does John have ideas for what Star Wars content I should make? Okay, cool, bro. He likes the OG trilogy too. Well, you said you like the High Republic, cool, bro. I'll just leave it at that. Why don't you start with that's such a broad, brush that they have yet to really showcase on television, which they said they were in television and film formats. So maybe I would start with there because there's a lot of lore that you can dig into there.
Maybe I would suggest maybe he look into remaking the holiday special.
Yeah, I do want to see that. I do want to see that documentary, though. The documentary that just came out or is coming out on it very soon. There's a documentary on the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, great! I did not know that. Wow, I learned something tonight. I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch that when it drops.
I'll get you the info on. I'll get you the info. I'll DM you, John, on that. But before we head to the half-hour break, I do want to mention though that when it comes to AEW. Right now they're hurting in many ways. Obviously, losing CM Punk, their ratings have declined dramatically and sharply, and it's just not even a way you can try and sugarcoat it at this point in time, especially on their Friday and Saturday shows. We've talked about last month about the problem of having the content that they do right now, especially with the quality of roster that they have, because they don't have many frontline stars that people will be drawn into watching now on a daily basis. MJF is really hurting. You see him trying to do an angle now with this devil, aka Black Scorpion, whatever you want to call as far as that's concerned. That they're rehashing the Black Scorpion gimmick, but they seem to do it when they want, not every time out. Like they didn't do it during the pay-per-view. They kind of left that alone, and then they brought it back for television. Yeah, it's just the kind of, I don't know, just very weird the way they're doing this Black Scorpion / devil type thing as far as the scenario. But the Samoa Joe and MJF rematch is coming up here in the not too distant future. MJF has some real world, real life health issues with his hip and his labrum. I'm so sad to see MJF go through this because the whole company is leaning on him. He's been put into a mode of a baby face, which I don't think you and I believe is truly awful. 100% ready for. I mean, it worked for Roddy Piper. Even though I was against him turning face, I really didn't want him to turn face, but he did turn face, and he did become a major baby face throughout the rest of the late 80s and early 90s in the WWF. I just don't think he was ready for it yet. I just think there was still so much more to go for him as a heel. What are your thoughts on MJF before we get to the only other angle worth visiting right now in AEW?
I have a feeling that MJF might be exiting stage left. I mean, we've heard that that contract is up in 2024. There's been Twitter buzz about that he secretly signed an extension. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen. But I really think that he might very seriously consider going to the WWE. I mean, Cody's over there, and there is a connection there between those two. He, got along well with CM Punk and had some great matches in AEW with CM Punk. In fact, that run was one of the best runs that company has had. And so I honestly feel like time's ticking here. When I said earlier on in this episode, when AEW is kind of, I don't know, looking down the barrel of a gun, so to speak, to use an analogy, they got to do something very quickly. And I don't see them doing things that they need to do to get this ship righted. And I have a feeling that, unfortunately, MJF, and this is a prime example of why I feel that, is that I don't really get the face character. I don't think he really likes doing it. It just seems put on, if you will, for lack of a better term. And I'm just not buying it. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we find out MJF packs his bags and goes to McMahon land.
We'll see. That would be, I think, a good move for him. Will Ospreay, again, if he doesn't want to deal with that life in WWE, I got to respect that because he still wants to deal with New Japan. And I think that AEW, that if that's the case, it's probably the right deal for him. But again, we don't know the situation going forward with All Elite Wrestling, how much longer Warner Brothers will keep on padding the wallets for AEW. We'll see if they'll continue to go ahead and support them, or if they might pick up Monday Night Raw, because that's up for sale right now to the highest bidder. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But before we head to the break, my friend, you have Edge versus Christian, aka R-rated superstar Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage, which is the most compelling storyline in All Elite Wrestling right now. As we're talking and recording this, next week on Dynamite, they're going to be giving away live on free television the matchup between those two for Christian's TNT title. I would have spaced this out more. I would have actually utilized both of these individuals as challengers for MJF as headliners, and then both of them submarining each other's chances for the world title, and
Oh.
then going into something like that first. I would have done that. I would have played this out a lot longer than what they're doing. Maybe this is going to just lead to a schmoz next week, which is going to lengthen this feud out even more. But not just giving this away on free television. That's an old business wrestling term as far as giving it away on free television first is not always a good move.
Well,
CWCW and
yeah,
Hogan versus Goldberg.
yeah. You know what? It's a funny thing that you mentioned. I guess I did not just kind of realize that, that you mentioned, that these two probably should have been spaced out a little bit more and feeding them to MJF. I never thought about that. That's a great idea. That
And
would
then
have been perfect.
each one
Yeah.
submarining the other in their title matches with MJF. So you can both say they were screwed over so that they could both do rematches against MJF under different circumstances, plus still have a feud with each other at the same
Hmm.
time.
Yeah. No, that was great.
Wrestling booking 101, right there. John Orlando and I will teach that to sometime to Tony Khan.
I think that they have a lot of great source material over the weeks. I agree. Maybe they could have been stretched out a little bit farther with a couple more
They
weeks here.
just went right in it. He debuted Adam
Yeah.
Copeland, and they just went right in it.
Yeah, that I think should have been stretched out. I also feel like the TNT title doesn't need to be part of this. I mean, this is a strong enough a storyline that I don't think you need it, because you have their entire history. They're best friends, or have been best friends, whatever they're pitching there. You know, they have all this material that they can use. I don't think they need the TNT title. I think they could have put that on somebody else. Maybe here he could have dropped the TNT title because Adam Copeland got involved, and there you go. So you drop the title off of Christian, and that frees him up. You don't need it for the storyline anyways, and then they can go at it one-on-one. I did think that implementing and using Sting and Darby Allin and Killswitch and Nick Wayne in the mix, made things a little bit more entertaining, made things a little bit better. But let's just be honest, Christian Cage is killing it when it comes to promos. I mean, he is really to a point
I'm
making
conducting business here.
he just and then when he goes after people's mothers, like it just gets
Yes.
very uncomfortable and
And the
it
father figure routine with him with the Luchasaurus, aka Kill Switch, and Nick Wayne. Yeah, that's yeah, and Nick Wayne's mom is put into this whole thing, and
yeah.
yeah, I love his comments to Nick Wayne's mom about, you better hurry up and get, start clock into your shift at Denny's and stuff like that. That comment that he made, that it has been he's been very good on the mic. I know that some people thought he's been off and on. I think he's been very good, and he's one of the few bright spots for All Elite Wrestling at this point in time.
I agree. Now, I'm not so sure that I would say Christian Cage is still at the same level he was a few years ago
No,
in
he's
the
50
ring.
years old. These guys,
Right.
these two are 50 years old. You're going to get as much as you can. So
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. They're up there in years, and by no means is 50 old, but it is old to be doing this, wrestling night in and night out. So yeah, Christian Cage has been great. He's been the bright spot of this feud, I feel. Um, I just don't know, to be honest with you, if I'm really super excited to watch next Wednesday that match. I don't know why, but
I
I'm
just don't think it's going to be much of a match. I don't think it'll be
yeah.
the match that everybody wants to see, because
Hmm.
something will happen where, somebody either gets screwed over, or it's a schmaz double DQ or something like that, or Christian Cage chickens out or something that's going to lead to a pay-per-view. But I just think it's just a cheap way to get ratings, which is going to piss off the fans even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. The old adage of you giving something away for free, that's not a good idea. Make the people want to buy it. And I know there's a totally different universe now when it comes to streaming and TV and pay per views and whatnot, but I still think that old adage of not giving it away for free is something that should be listened to and taken into consideration.
It just seems right now that that's a troubling sign for All Elite Wrestling, because I really want this company to work. Because when you have viable companies at the
Mhm.
top, it makes more opportunities for wrestlers to sustain their families and be able to provide good livings for their families. So we want All Elite Wrestling to succeed, but we see problems with it. And the fact is, right now, when you have MJF and then you have this feud, and then I can't tell you much after it as far as that's memorable, or that you should follow, or that you should go out of your way to check. It just seems to me very disappointing what All Elite Wrestling has to offer right now, especially when CM Punk and Jade Cargill and Cody Rhodes are all appearing on the other shows every week.
Yeah, I forgot about Jade Cargill. You're right.
They're
She's in
saving
developmental.
her. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the shots, the thinly veiled shots, on why she hasn't, actually fully debuted in the ring. Because I guess Triple H said because her, I guess, experience was limited and her training was limited previously. So, taking a shot at AEW even more. But what are your thoughts out there on what's going on with the Christian? I'm sorry, the Christian Adam Copeland slash Edge feud right now? Is it something you really want to get your teeth into and really follow? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But before we get to the voting, my friend, on the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame, I do want to answer Cool Bros questions for you. Your opinion on Thrawn, and also, as well, do you watch Star Wars Theory?
I do not watch Star Wars Theory.
Okay.
Um, Thrawn, I'm on the fence. I don't know
He's
how I feel
blue.
about that character. Yeah, yes, I know. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I know that that's going to probably be a cop out answer, but yeah, just I don't know what to think of him. I think he's an interesting character, but that's about. I mean, that's about as much as I will comment on.
Fair enough, my friend. All right. So I want to go ahead and just congratulate the individuals who did get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Start off with George Kidd, as far as his going back, as far as George Kidd is concerned. from something from, as far as what, from Europe, correct? If I'm not
Yes, he's
mistaken.
from Scotland, I think.
Yes,
Yes, Scotland.
yes, yeah, absolutely. So yes, congratulations to him. Also, as well, Blue Panther, who I do know from my following of Lucha Libre. Blue Panther, I think that's a name that is deserving. He often goes underreported, but yeah, definitely think he's deserving. Tomohiro Ishii, was he
I,
ever really at a main event level in Japan? To my knowledge, he was always middle of the card or upper average, upper card, but never a guy that a company could build around, as far as my knowledge.
yeah, this one makes my head makes me scratch my head because
Good
super hero.
worker, but
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
not
yeah. And
not great. Not great, but good. He needed a
mhm.
dance partner.
And his character is very well developed. He's the what Stone Pit Bull. Like
Yeah.
he's the bad dude that will mess you up. If he catches you out back in the alley. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of like Taz. There you go. He's a ECW Taz. But again, I don't know if an ECW Taz would be on this list either. I don't know why Ishii's on this list. I'll throw it out there.
All right. Well, again, that one is, I really just, sometimes it just makes me question as far as what's going on, as far as the decision making process with this. But the Briscoes, their team, I think that is deserving, and they finally got inducted into the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. I have no problem with that. How about you, my friend?
Well, I think we should clarify it's Jack and Jerry Briscoe. It
Yes, the
is
Briscoe
not
brothers.
yes,
I
it's
said
not
I
the
said the Briscoes, but yeah, it's Jack and Jerry Briscoe. You're right. Correct.
yeah,
Yes.
you know what? Here's the thing. It's funny that you mentioned that. I don't know much about them as a tag team. I've seen and I know for a fact I've seen one match with Jerry and Jack Briscoe when they were in the Mid Atlantic territory taking on Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. And those matches were good. But I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience watching Briscoe brothers, either as a tag team or as Jack as the run as the NWA World Champ. I'll just say that based on notoriety, I think they deserve to be in.
A lot of Mid South, Southern area, Georgia Championship Wrestling, Florida, obviously because that's they were where they were based, and then a run as NWA World Tag Team title holders. They also had a run in the WWF, but they did not get the titles there. But I think they did enough to deserve induction. Sergeant Slaughter, I think that goes without saying, especially the fact that he was, as far as on the independent slash AWA scene, at one time the number one or two baby face that was out there. During the time and period Hulk Hogan was dominating WWE, he was AWA's answer as far as face concerned, although he could not draw anywhere near what Hulk Hogan did when he was at his heights, but he also became a major heel in the WWE and also had a turn as the WWE or WWF champion at that point in time as well in the Iraq War feud that he had with Hulk Hogan. Your thoughts on Sergeant Slaughter?
I said it last time that we talked. Why is he not in this Hall of Fame? I mean, yes, he was a great wrestler, but he's got that pop culture tie-in with GI Joe. He had the GI Joe action figure deal that I'm sure raised his profile among little kids in America. That oh my God, this is a real GI Joe. And I mean, who else?
Who else got to, okay? And that's as far as with Sergeant Slaughter. I can totally understand that. Go ahead, my friend. You were cutting out on the internet on that. Oh, and I'll get you back right here, right now. So, John, your thoughts on
Okay,
Sergeant Slaughter?
Sergeant Slaughter, hands down, should have been in. As I told you before, last time we talked,
Agreed.
I don't know why he wasn't. Great wrestler, great personality. Had the GI Joe toy tie-in. Hundreds, if not thousands, of little kids recognized who he was.
Okay, can understand that. So, yeah, absolutely, definitely agree with you that he deserved to get in, and definitely think that he deserved really a great opportunity to go ahead and be part of the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. Also, as well, just wanted to go ahead and announce that Jackie Soto and Maki Ueda from that era in time, as far as in the late 80s, or actually in the 80s, as far as the crush gals and all that, as far as the beauty pair. They were a great team overseas, did a little bit of work here in the States. So you really have to go ahead and watch their footage. So you really have to know your history on that. So I won't say I disagree with that either. And then Antonio Rocca and Miguel Perez were also inducted as well, my friend.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that, again, got you back here, John. Can you hear me, John? John, are you with me? Cool, bro. I can answer your question like this: professional wrestling, whether it's WWE, All Elite Wrestling, whatever it is, it's not staged, it's not fake, it's choreographed. The outcomes are predetermined, and in order for the fact that these guys and gals can go ahead and perform 200 to 300 nights a year, you can't do it for real. As far as me punching my opponent in the face, literally. So it has to be pulled. It has to be, it's choreographed. The way the matches are laid out, it's all choreographed. But as far as the athleticism that they do and that they performed out there, it is something that, again, that's done, that's worked well. But yeah, literally, it's not real. If they were actually in the ring trying to beat each other up, they would not being able to go and perform 200 to 300 nights a year. That would be physically impossible. John Orlando and I met up in a match, in the ring, and tried to physically beat each other up 200 nights a year. We would probably make it to night 3 before we said enough's enough. But
that's a good estimate. That would probably
yeah.
be night 3. Yeah.
But yes, like I said, the Antonio Rocca and Miguel Perez team from the 60s and 70s, and a beauty pair. Going back, you really got to know your history. I have seen a little bit of work from these two teams, and I guess because they were both at main event levels for each of their individual areas of their time. As far as the time that I'd say that's not a problem. I wouldn't have an issue with them. But would I have chosen them first and foremost? No, I would not. But I think the fact that they both had their moments as far as teams are concerned. Obviously, Antonio Rocca, one of the greatest wrestlers of that era, and Miguel Perez, as far as coming on with him on that. So yeah, definitely think both those teams are deserving.
I do too. I don't know hardly anything about both of those tag teams. I know that Antonio Rocca was one of the big draws back in the 50s and 60s. So by that alone, I would say that that's deserving. And so I've heard a little bit about the tag team. I have not. I will say I know nothing about the beauty pair. So I'm with you on that, Gerald. I say they should go in, but
Yeah.
should they have gone in over, say, the Steiner brothers or somebody like that? No.
Yeah. Now the Steiner brothers is going to be hard. Steiner brothers should have been in well before Rick Steiner's comments on Giselle Shaw, and I'll just
Mm-hmm.
leave it at that. So now that he did say the comments about Giselle Shaw, which were reprehensible, I don't know if they'll ever get in, and that's the case. And I don't think he cares. So again, that's at this point, no, the Steiners, they're on their own level, and that's what they're going to do. Just don't ask Scott to do math. That's all I'll say. Cool Bro says, so it's like that medieval time show where knights sword fight each other. A little bit more physical than that, Cool Bro, but yes, the outcomes are predetermined in pro wrestling. Yes. I feel bad because I'm smartening this kid up now, because Cool Bro's 14 years old. He's a great fan of ours on the Lakers Fast Break. But yes, that's about. I actually learned a little bit earlier when I think about 10 or 11, when I was watching it and I was guessing already the outcomes. So I came to my knowledge that already I'm like, this stuff is predetermined. That's how I figured out. I'm like, oh, that guy's going to win. Oh, he win. That, I was like 99%, or, oh, this looks like it's going to be a disqualification. Oh, this looks like it's going to be a count out. Oh, gee, what do you know? It is. So that's how, as a kid, I understood how. That's one of these days we got to have a conversation on. Save that for down the line. How you and I got into pro wrestling, and how do we know when it is what it is? We'll save that for another day. But before we head on out, my friend, and before we get our Christmas wishes in, and before we get the final question from Cool Bro for you, because I know we got to do that as well. I promised him I would. We got to go ahead and pick your picks for the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame if you were voting. So Dave Meltzer, listen up out there. This is how you get it done. This is what you need to go ahead and go by. So, John Orlando, who are your picks for the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame? I will act, you know what? I'll tell you what, I will start first. I will start first with my picks for the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. Oh, actually, do I have you back, John? Okay, I got you back right there.
I think you do.
Yeah,
Sorry, I don't know what's up with what's going on with the internet. I apologize.
no worries. So what? Let's go ahead and get your picks, my friend, before we head on out, my friend.
Okay, so are we going to go from the ballot from this year? You want me to give my picks from that ballot,
Yes,
or
from that
okay?
picks. If you were there, part of the picking process, like we were last month, ahead of time.
hmm
Let's say we're in that room. Who would you have picked?
I would have picked. I think I would have picked the British Bulldogs as a tag team. I would have definitely put in Sputnik Monroe because of his not only for his career, but for the fact that he was very much against the discrimination that was happening in the South, where he performed mostly. So I'd say he would go in. Dave Brown. He was the sidekick to Lance Russell for years and years and years in Memphis wrestling. I think he definitely should be going in. Absolutely. I feel that Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff should be somebody that goes in because, again, he had, especially in the mid 80s, his WWF run where he turned on Hogan and
That
everything.
Toronto match with Hogan got 70,000 plus people there, as far as I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. I would say he would go in. I
Part of
really don't.
WrestleMania. Or, there you go. Headline
Yeah,
WrestleMania.
yeah. For Mexican candidate, I would go La Parca because I was always entertained by him.
Okay.
And let's see, probably Hayabusa for Japan.
Okay.
And when you're talking about Europe, Australia, all those other nations, I'd pick either Johnny Saint or Adrian Street.
Okay.
So
I'm going to go. I'll start off with the modern performers. And if I get to, how many are we picking? So 5 maximum from the modern performers, if that's the case. I'm going to go ahead and start off with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Do I really need to say more than 3 letters, NWO, or too sweet? I mean, come on. They are still selling. It's okay if you get a chance to take a look at some of the top 10 properties on WWE sell. The NWO is still, the shirts still sell in the top 10 for WWE to this day. And that's due in large part to Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. They're my number 1 choice. Number 2, I would say Rick and Scott Steiner. And in fact, I will say I'm taking Giselle Shaw comments. I guess I can't say. Well, should I say Rick and Scott Steiner or not? I don't want to be out of place. You know what? I'll just leave them out. I'll just leave them
okay,
out because of those
okay,
comments. Because I'll just leave them out. Sorry, Rick and Scott. Even though you do deserve it, I'm going to say Trish Stratus. Trish
yes,
Stratus, obviously, after you saw her recently, just kill it with Becky Lynch, absolutely. But what she meant to pro wrestling for women in the late '90s, early 2000s, absolutely. I would also go with CM Punk. I think Roman Reigns is close, but they're not quite there yet. And after that, it's very tough. But I would say Paul Orndorff would be number 4. I think I've got that list down. And number 5, I would probably say I'm going to have to go with Bill Goldberg. I'm just going to go with that one right there. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns are close. They're within the next 2, and Becky Lynch. Those 3 are close to me. Edge after that. And then I would probably list off maybe I guess that's maybe Matt and Jeff Hardy after that. Young Bucks are not in my list. I just don't think the Young Bucks have done enough yet, in my
mhm.
opinion.
Agreed
Uh,
on the Young Bucks. Agreed.
yeah, I do know who Logan Paul is. Yeah, he does WWE. He's the current U.S. heavyweight champion. Cool, bro. He beat Rey Mysterio in a match recently for that title, and he'll be defending it, I believe, shortly or at Royal Rumble. But yes, he is a big deal for WWE because he draws in the social media audience, as far as I'm concerned. No, he does not. He has never had a part as far as he might have had stock in that company, but I will say he appeared in a match at a WrestleMania several years ago. Plus, he has allowed his previous Atlantic City casinos to be the home for 2 WrestleManias in the past. And I'll leave it at that, regardless of your political opinion on him one way or the other. So yeah, he did not own the WWE. Now, a good friend of his in real life, Vince McMahon, even though those guys had a feud on screen, they have always been good friends. And Vince McMahon up until recently owned the WWE. So we'll leave it at that. But getting back to my thoughts on the wrestling as far as historical performers, wow, 7 maximum. I'm just going to go with, as far as it's concerned, it's Sergeant Slaughter. I think you're right on that. The Von Erichs. I think the Von Erichs, you have to, despite the tragedy and all that, as we're going to see with the film Iron Claw, which you and I are very excited for, I would go with them. British Bulldogs, I don't know if they had a long enough run because of the injuries to Dynamite Kid. So I'd have to go ahead and maybe reevaluate that one. But the Hart Foundation would probably do it for me as well.
Yeah. I forgot the Hart Foundation was on that list, actually.
Yeah. Wrestling in Japan candidates, Hayabusa for me, because I was a big Hayabusa fan as far as what he did for pro wrestling and high flying acts. And then Manami Toyota and Toshio Yamada were some of the major names in women's wrestling in Japan in the 90s. I could see that absolutely. After that, I don't understand why Asuka's not on this list because she's been wrestling since 2003 or whatnot. So I don't know. I don't know why she's not on this list. So it still befuddles me. But then again, the requirements all befuddle me on that. So yeah, Mexico, I would really go quickly. Blue Panther or La Parca. Really, those two individuals have really changed the force of lucha libre wrestling for so many years. And then non-wrestlers, I would go with Mike Tenay. Tony Schiavone, I think, has done well enough over the years. So I would probably say, and then Jim Johnston as the WWE maker. And then also, who's the belt maker for so many years? For
Reggie Parks.
Yeah, Reggie Parks.
Yes.
I would go with him. Yeah. In the Europe, I'm not sure. Otto Vons. I would go Otto Vons because he held the title and he owned ran the company so long in Europe. And then I'd probably say that's it.
Okay.
All right, my friend. Before we head on out, I wanted to go ahead and thank you so much as always and make sure you get a chance to plug. But what is your Christmas wish, since this will be airing during the month of December? And before we come back before the end of the year to talk about our best of, which will be an absolutely fantastic episode, what is your Christmas wish for pro wrestling before we head on out?
I wish for pro wrestling that there is a resurgence of interest in the industry like there was in the late 90s. I would like it to be like that time period again, where there is so much excitement, so much enthusiasm. Everywhere you go, there's something wrestling related, whether it's a billboard, it's an ad in a newspaper, it's an ad on on Facebook, whatever. I would like a resurgence in popularity of the wrestling industry.
Absolutely.
To those former levels.
I can't say I blame you. Yeah, that's a good Christmas wish. For me, my Christmas wish is just that we go ahead and find basically some type of consistency in storytelling. That's all I ask. Some consistency in storytelling. The WWE now no longer has any excuses. They've got the talent. They've got the top line talent. They've got a pretty good level of midline talent. Depends. I've seen better midline talent at WWE, depending on the year, but still it's okay where it is as far as the midline talent. But they've got upper tier, definitely. They've got names that can draw. They've got a base of wrestlers that can go ahead and fill the rest of the card out. And then they also have younger wrestlers in NXT that they can also go ahead and promote, which NXT is going to be finding a new home on the CW here in the not too distant future. So yeah, basically good storytelling on both AEW and WWE, New Japan, TNA, MLW, wherever you can find it. That's what I hope for, my friend.
Well, that's a solid wish.
Absolutely. But before we head on out, my friend, wishing you and yours a happy holiday season. And let me make sure I tell that to you, my friend, because I won't see you until just after the Christmas season.
And likewise, I hope you and the family have a great holiday season as well.
We might tape it earlier. Let me know your availability. We'll talk about that. Yeah, as far as when we tape our best of 2023 on that. But before we head on out, my friend, make sure you go ahead. I will go ahead and make sure you answer the question for Cool Bro. But before we do, what's going on with the PVD cast?
Well, the PVD Cast is my own podcasting project that you can find at pvdcast.com or wherever you find great quality podcasts, through all those usual outlets that Actually, today, it just went up a couple of hours ago. The newest episode, I sit down with my two experts, the pro wrestling pundits, and we are going to dissect and talk about the Survivor Series. We go match by match, talking about things that we liked and things that we didn't like about each match. Then we kind of do an overview of what we think might be happening with some of the WWE superstars in the future in terms of storylines and whatnot. So it's an opinionated episode, but it's a fun episode. So definitely give it a listen if you would like to. And again, that's available at pvdcast.com or throughout those major podcasting outlets.
Absolutely. A great show. I listen to it frequently. I have it on my playback, my app right here. I have it on, and you just go ahead, punch it in, boom, PVD cast right there for you. So definitely got to go ahead and make sure that you've got John Orlando and the PVD cast all hooked up on your podcast player, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or one of those offshoots like I have Bullhorn. Bullhorn gets me hooked up on that, so that no problem indeed. But before we end it out, my friend, I will answer, or we'll get an answer from you, from Cool Bro, because he hits me all the time with Star Wars questions, which is great. I truly appreciate it. As a pop culture freak, even I'm talking Lakers, he still pops in there with it, and I truly appreciate him taking the time to do that, because it's great having the younger set go ahead and listen to what we have to say. But when it comes down to it, he wanted to go ahead, and he's asked me this question before on the air. What are your favorite five favorite Star Wars characters before we head on out?
Yoda. I had a soft spot for Greedo.
Greedo shot first.
I always, because he was so menacing, even though he didn't stick around too long, I would go Darth Maul. I'm going to go with Darth Vader, obviously. And that's 4. I mean, I guess you got to go with Luke. I think you got to. I mean, again, Cool Bro, I'm an old man, so the original trilogy.
I like Mark Hamill more than I like Luke Skywalker. Is that bad?
No, that's not bad at all. No. So there you go. Those are my 5. Now, if you ask me like 5 favorite action figures, you get some weird ones, because as a kid, I liked the Power Droid action figure, which was useless. Like, that character was useless in the movies, but for some odd reason, I love the Power Droid figure.
Cool,
I don't know.
Cool Bro, we all know the story on the way George Lucas changed it and whatnot. So yes, we all know Han shot first, but Greedo is supposed to have shot first, is what the story, and that's what it was altered to look like. But yes, we know the actual truth on that. But it is, of course, he likes the Black Series action figures. So I can't go wrong with that. But yeah, I was telling him the other day, he said, which action figure do I like the best? I said the one I like the best is the one that's worth the most money right now. And that's of course, the Boba Fett with the detachable missiles that you could, that's extremely rare. The holy grail of Star Wars action figures that's worth like $1 million, I think, by itself. I think. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I would like that one. That's okay. John, you can go ahead and get me that for Christmas. How about that, my friend?
Hold on, let me write it down.
But once again, it's John Orlando from the PVD cast. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing today. But before we head on out, we got a little bit of time left, filling out after the internet trouble. Just a couple seconds left. CM Punk. Yes or no? When I talked about if 2 years down the line, he is there at WWE main eventing shows, I think it's a huge win for the WWE. But I'm here in Vegas. I say it's 50-50 at best. Your thoughts? Yay or nay, he is out there performing for the WWE on an every regular time basis in 2 years for the WWE?
Yes. Emphatically, he will be there in 2 years.
So you are a confident man. I do not share that same confidence with this history. You'll have to forgive me on that.
Okay, I'm telling you, I think he's a changed man. I think he's matured some. I'm just saying.
He's 45. How much more can he mature? Oh, but then again, 10 years, 10 minutes, 10 seconds from now, I'm a different man. That's right. Yes, that's what we got. Yes, got to go back to that. So, all I'll say, my friend, is if he is utilized correctly, it can be a huge win. I am just hopeful they do not forget about LA Knight.
Hmm.
They do not slow down his momentum, and they do not slow down the momentum of Cody Rhodes, who is the most popular individual right now
Mm.
in the WWE. And LA Knight's not too far behind. I certainly hope that they don't go fall in love with CM Punk and just, push him to the moon and just push everyone by the wayside. You can, like, if the Steve Austin rumors are true, they can utilize him in that feud and still push Cody Rhodes and LA Knight. You don't even have to give CM Punk a title. Just you can still find
Hmm.
ways to keep him at
Yeah,
the top and main event shows. It's a great situation for the WWE. You now have another main event player who doesn't even need a title. You can still main event and now just use its alt. You don't have to retread the same matches each and every month at the top of the card.
absolutely, totally in agreement.
Yeah, smart move. Triple H, for years, he was just like everybody thought he was the uncool guy when he was coming up in DX. Why did they give him? Why are they pushing him? He's only being pushed because he's a honorary McMahon, married to the boss's daughter and all that. Well, not only has he proved himself to be one of the best workers in the world at that time, but he has also proven to be himself to be a good student of the game, and for the most part has made some very solid to very good decisions once he's gotten power. The only thing is, will get the carpet get pulled out from under him once again?
Well, we'll have to. It remains to be seen. We'll have
Big
to
shout out
watch.
to you. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say we'll just have to watch with a keen eye to see what happens.
May the force be with you as well, cool bro. Truly appreciate everyone watching. It is the State of Pro Wrestling with John Orlando. Please check out all of his great shows at thepvdcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. John, looking forward to our next show, whenever we tape it in December, because it's the best of pro wrestling for the entire year. And if we didn't have much to talk about today, like you said at the start of the show, because nothing's going on in pro wrestling, something's going to be talked about on the next show, indeed, my friend. But looking forward to it, John. Looking forward to it, indeed.
Looking forward to it as well. Thank you again for having me. I always appreciate sitting down and talking wrestling with you, Gerald. These episodes are always fun. They're a blast. And thanks again.
And I didn't even know we would give Cool Bro a lesson in pro wrestling. So there you
Yeah,
go.
that was a
We
bonus.
smarten him up. I don't know if that was a good thing or bad. It's like, when you go ahead and you tell somebody the outcome. Yeah, Luke is Darth Vader's father. Just want to let you know. Oh, you ruined it for me, man. You ruined it for me. But yes, pro wrestling is a very physical form of choreographic art when it's done really, really well. Is that a good way to say it?
That's a very good way to say it. Very, very eloquent.
Yes, yes. And yes, the matches are predetermined. Yes. Sometimes they get determined on the fly by the ref who gets the call in the earpiece. But
Mm.
yes, they're determined indeed. All right, John Orlando from the PVD cast. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll be back with you on Monday. Josh and I will return. Plus, we've got more great episodes. Belinda and I will be back. So many more great things to talk about in the world of pop culture. And John Orlando and I will be back in the month of December talking some great things in the world of pro wrestling for 2023, right here in the State of Pro Wrestling. And of course, right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos.